Hi guys, and today I've got the Toyota Aygo Cross. It's pronounced Cross, although they write it as an X. Now this is basically, well, you think it's an Aygo, but actually it's based on the Yaris chassis, so it is actually a little bit bigger and it's definitely a little bit taller. That's what it's about. So the Cross series in the Toyota lineup for the Yaris Cross and for this is basically the sort of the essence of the car, but on stilts a little bit, to give you that sort of mini SUV feel. So these are new and they come in several configurations in terms of trim. You get the Pure, the Edge and the Exclusive, and this is the top of the range limited edition. Prices start at about £15,500 and they rise to just over £20,000 for this one. This one is in cardamom green, this one. That's really cool, bi-tone, so you've got the orange accents on it as well. Really makes the car stand out, especially on those 18-inch matte black wheels that this one has got. This one's also got this brilliant powered canvas full-length roof, which I think is fantastic. Definitely worth getting. So this comes with a 3-cylinder 1-litre petrol engine. It's not hybrid. They come as a manual, and you do get an automatic. It's a CVT. They cost about £1,000 more. That engine gives you a mighty 71 horsepower, but that's good for 0 to 60 acceleration, 0 to 62 miles per hour acceleration in about 15.6 seconds and a top speed of 98. It doesn't sound like much, but in day-to-day driving, as you'll see, it's quite adequate. Miles per gallon though is the big thing, nearly 58 miles per gallon, and grams per kilometer CO2 up to 117, so all pretty good on that side. It's a good looking thing, it's kind of cute, it retains the sort of style of the Aygo, but it's definitely slightly different in its styling. But this one with the accents and the orangey bits and all the trim and everything, I think it looks really funky. What's it like in terms of practicality? Is there any practicality? Because you know the Aygo is actually a very small car. Let's check out the boot, the rear, the front, and then we'll take it for a drive. It's interesting how the Aygo Cross Limited motif is only on one side of the car, not the other. Orange accents really do stand out. There's a full one-piece thing. It's like a glass panel, and underneath here you open it up, and actually it's not too bad, because if you know the Aygo, you know that actually it's got quite a tiny boot, probably good for shopping. But this one, I could see you possibly doing the airport run in this one. 231 litres of space. It's not too bad. Under the floor, there is a little bit more space, but really just a little bit of a cavity for your tyre repair kit and a few tools and stuff like that. And then you can actually, of course, fold down the seat. So you've got this little strap here. If you pull the strap, and you can drop the seat, and it goes pretty flat, not completely flat, but pretty flat, and then that gives you quite a bit of extra room, so if you do need to use it. So that's not bad. Now I've got to put that seat back up again and see if I can actually fit into the back of this car, which in a normal Aygo would be quite difficult for me. Okay, so the first thing to note is that the windows on the back do open, but only slightly, with this kind of clip here, which is very old school. So that's kind of cool. Interesting though. And yeah, I'm going to attempt to get into this. This driver's seat is set for me. I'm 6'2" with long legs. Let's see. Okay, well, I'm kind of in. And actually I am in. But to say it's tight is to put it mildly. So that I mean, if it wasn't for this spongy bit here in the middle, my knees would be jammed up right up against, well, they are jammed up right against it, but there would be no space. But that's only because there's a soft bit there that I can actually do that. Foot room's actually not too bad. There's plenty of room for your feet. That's not an issue. You got a little cubby hole back here as well. No USBs or vents or anything like that. But really, to be honest, for me, I mean, like, I can't even sit up straight. Look, I mean, my head is right up on the roof line. So honestly, I think it's more suited for children, or at the very least regular size adults, not taller adults. If you intend to carry any tall passengers in the back of this thing, then rethink it. Maybe look at the Yaris Cross instead. Okay, I think I'm gonna try and get out of here now because, oh my goodness. By the way, you do have Isofix child seat anchor points in the back here. And the seats are quite nicely trimmed. That's cloth, that's interesting, and that's leather. So this kind of, you know, two aspects to the trimming. That's not so bad. And it's quite nice with the orange accented carpets. It looks nice. Doesn't fit me, that's all. Okay, I'm out. Oh, it's a bit dusty out, so hey, tell you what. After squeezing myself into the back, the front is an absolute revelation, even for my, as I said, 6'2" frame with long legs. I have no problem back here, in front here I should say. Look, there's even room for my left foot, right next to, there's this little footrest, and actually that works quite well, right next to the clutch leg there, clutch pedal I should say. Over here, again, headroom, not an issue, elbow room is fine, could be a little bit cozy, but it's okay, it's not too bad. Seats are comfortable, seating position is comfortable, you can adjust it, it's manually adjustable, so you can adjust that. You can also adjust the steering wheel as well, only for range, but not for reach, so, but you know, it's such a small car, it's fine. So let's start it up and see what it looks like. The starter button is down there, it's keyless this one, and you start it up, and the incredible thing is the graphics, particularly on here. And I'll put an inset, you'll see all the colors and everything that come up on there, it's amazing. Now this section itself is quite interesting because the center bit is digital, whereas the other bit is actually analog. So you can see, well actually the outer bits are also digital, but the needle there is analog. And then it goes through, if I can get it off the screen that's telling me about the door, which it doesn't want to do. But I know the door, oh here we go. So now we can scroll through and you can see what's it showing there. It's showing 46.3 miles per gallon, and that's in my uneconomical style that I've been driving it so far. You can reset that, that shows you the speed, and it goes to that. So actually let me go through this one here. That shows you the distance in front, the radio, that is your trip information, other information, and all the rest of it. And you know, you scroll between those two. So over here you have a 9-inch monitor here. Pretty much full connectivity to the connector, as they say. It's got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and all the rest of it. Quite easy to use, all touchscreen as you would imagine. That's your, I shouldn't hit that because that's the Toyota services right there, so that's when it's connected and stuff like that. It actually has a remote, so you can actually turn the AC on by remote. The AC, by the way, has a pollen filter on this thing. You got vehicle information there as well, so look at that, that's all your history on there. And passenger airbag information, your hazard lights, that's your climate control, can be started by remote. You've got heated seats back here for the front, USB and a power point there, but you've also got wireless charging as well. That's a switch for that. 2 cup holders, manual gearbox, 5-speed, as I said. There's your traditional handbrake, so that's a lot of fun. Over here you have some more buttons. There's traction off button and stuff is there. It's got auto stop start, little door pocket there, and this is body colored, so that's interesting. So are the vents, so this is quite interesting because the vents are body colored, but the surround here is again that orange accent. So they carry through the bitone element of the exterior into the interior. So it's got a lot of personality. Again, just check out how they've done this with these sort of dots in the seat, along with the stitch, with the color contrasting stitching. And again, the front seats are really interesting. They're really nicely done. They've put a lot of effort into these kind of almost bucket, I would say, almost balti seats. And as you can see, a fair bit of equipment on this. So it's got pre-collision, autonomous emergency braking, steering lane assist, departure warning, road sign assist, intelligent adaptive cruise control, which is operated from here. And then reversing camera, so it does have a reversing camera. As you can see, there you go, there's the reversing camera, not 360, this is a camera, it's such a tiny car that you shouldn't really have a problem with it. Smart entry and push start, automatic air conditioning, so it's climate control with clean pollen filters, automatic windscreen wipers, etc, etc. LED headlights and the canvas roof, front fog lights, etc, etc. Actually very well equipped, but this is a top spec car. Great space to be in here in the front at least anyway, so if you do your driving mostly on your own or with one other, this car will actually be fine around town. What's it like to drive around town and elsewhere? Let's find that out next. There are 2 things in this particular Aygo Cross specification of car that immediately tell you this is going to be an entertaining drive. 1, the canvas roof, which is massive, and normally I would drive with the windows down. That's what I normally do, but because of the sound I'm trying to keep the windows up. That immediately gives you a sense of driving in a convertible a little bit. And the second is the manual gearbox. So let's go for a little bit of a drive. Now I would like a slightly firmer clutch, because it's a very light clutch. Remember, this is configured as a city car. This is really all about being an urban car, but you know, with a little bit more ground clearance and you know, a little bit more height to give you better vantage. You know, you get like in SUVs and stuff like that. The clutch feels like sometimes it feels like it's slipping a little bit just from start off. This is a 3,000 plus mile Crest demonstrator. I wonder if it's been abused a little bit. I wouldn't blame anyone for that, because it is a car that sort of lends itself to a bit of a little bit of ringing of its neck. I mean, on paper the performance is slow, like alright, it makes a lot of noise, and I gotta say the 3-cylinder engine does make quite a nice noise. You know, it's quite enticing, a little rhythmic kind of, you know, urgent little engine there that's not actually doing very much but making a lot of noise. I mean, but you know, having said that, around town the performance is more than enough to keep up with everyday traffic. So that's where it's about. But out here on these roads, it's not too bad at all. So that's that thing I was saying, is that on paper it looks slow, but in reality it's good enough, you know. And the advantage is that you get to really work those gears. You can heel and toe with a little bit of practice. I missed it there, but you can do it, believe me, I have done it. But the thing is, because of the positioning of the pedals, it needs a little bit of a practice, that's all. But I gotta say that, you know, you can. The advantage of a car like this is that, you know, you can. That's just the lane thing. The lane assist lane tells you where the lanes are. The advantage of a car like this is that obviously, you know, it gives you the ability to wring its neck and not actually be going much faster than you would, or than you think you are, because you're not actually going that quickly at all. I'm just going to turn around here. Okay, 3-point turn completed. And as I was saying, the advantage is here that you can wring its neck. So that's 6,000. You're not going to get much more than 60. There's no point going above 6,000. 6,000 is the red line anyway, or 7,000 is, but you really don't get much above 6 anyway. And actually it does most of its work between the 2 to 4,000 RPM range is where it's doing. So, but you know, the handling is spot on, because again, it's a tiny little car, and the steering is a bit light for my liking. You know, I could do with a meteor heavier steering. But having said that, there you go. You know, it's responsive, it's agile, and it's fun. You know, and it's pretty tight little thing. You know, and it likes to dart about, which again makes it a great companion in town when you're darting in and out of traffic. One of the things you'll find is that you're in a lower gear than you normally would be in a car, because you just want to access that performance. You do have to work the gears quite hard, but you know, that's if you want to have fun. But very planted. The ride is fantastic on this car. You know, not too harsh, not too smooth. You can feel enough of the ground, and it's a smallish car, so I wouldn't say it's got a big car ride, but you know, it does the trick. Visibility all around is very good as well. I mean, over the shoulder you have a little bit of a C-pillar issue there, but actually, you know, you do have a reversing camera for when you're parking and stuff like that. But don't forget, the extremities of the car are very close. So you look over the shoulder, there's a rear window, there is the back of the car. That is the back of the car. Remember, from the outside, that's one piece glass. Although from the inside, it appears like a normal tailgate, you know, with a glass inset inside a tailgate. But from the outside, that's it. There is nothing more. So, and again, it's a small car, and the wing mirrors are pretty big actually on it, so you get pretty good visibility through that. Through the rear view mirror, the headrests stick up a little bit, but other than that, it's not too bad. But overall, visibility all around is good. Placing the car is relatively easy, and you know, it doesn't feel. It's weird because it should feel tiny, and it is small, and it does feel small. But it doesn't feel as tiny as an Aygo does, you know, sometimes. You know, even with people in the car, it doesn't feel like, oh my God, I'm in a tiny little box. It actually feels all right. And I guess the height advantage sort of lends itself to that. Around town, this has been okay in terms of the response of other drivers. So often you find that, you know, you might get dismissed when you're in small cars and stuff like that. But again, because of the way this car is configured, I guess with the orange accents and a slightly more aggressive sporty look, it's not a sports car, but it has that kind of funky look about it. You know, it's been getting a bit of attention, and people will let you through and stuff like that. So in that sense, it's actually quite good as well. Gear shift, as I was saying, very easy to use, very straightforward. I find sometimes I'll drop down into second, the shifting back up into third, it does balk a little bit sometimes, but with practice you get that right. Very good gear shift otherwise. Brakes are very linear, no problem at all, exactly as you'd expect them to be, so not too bitey, but sufficient strength and what have you. So that's really good. The stereo is fantastic. Normally it's very quiet, even with the canvas roof open, it's actually very quiet. At the moment we're at lower speed, so if you're doing like town speeds, like less than 30 or so, 30 or less, then it's very quiet. You even forget that the roof is open. But when you come out here, when you're driving a little bit, say above 30, 40, 50, whatever, then you start to get some wind noise through that roof. But other than that, it's actually surprisingly quiet. So that's the comfort features on this car are very good. I've managed to get comfortable in the seat very quickly. It's a manual adjustment, which is good. But I have found a good seating position that suits even my tall frame, and actually it's become a very comfortable place to be in. So it hasn't been an issue at all. Now I know that most people will probably get this as an automatic, and that will be fine. I think it'll be very smooth, very easy. It'll make it even easier. But I have to say that if you enjoy driving, get the manual. I mean, there aren't many cars brand new that are still offering manual gearboxes, especially from Toyota, because Toyota now is mostly offering hybrids, and so all the hybrids now are automatic CVTs. So with this one, you still get a manual gearbox, you still get the joy of manual shifting, attempting heel and toes and all the rest of it. Turning is pretty good on this car, it's surprising. There's a little bit of body lean as you'd expect, but it feels like not quite as darty as a hot hatch, but sufficiently so. Now the road I'm going to go on to next is one of the roads that is just about the bumpiest, harshest road that I know. So for a little car like this, let's see how that feels. And again, you can just work the engine if you like. I mean, to be honest, this is not how most people will drive this car. This car will be driven around town at much lower speed. So, okay. So you're starting to get a little bit of movement, as you can see, up and down on this car because of the road nature of this road. But having said that, it's not too alarming, and it feels secure, and that's the main thing that you want. And actually, I didn't do too bad, considering I've had cars that have really chucked me around much harder on this road than this one. So again, that's a testimony to just how good the ride actually is on this car. So even that's fun. It's funny that, because it goes wide and then it turns in a little bit sharper at the end there. So it's like, what's it doing? It's kind of slight. It's saying, oh, maybe I want to understeer, and then it goes, no, actually I don't want to understeer. That's interesting, isn't it? But one of the interesting things about the car, as you're wringing its neck, I can flick across through that thing, and despite what I've been doing, I'm still getting nearly 45 miles per gallon out of this thing. It's so economical. I mean, it's quite a task to see if you can get the fuel gauge to go down in this car. Yeah. And considering the current climate and the current cost of fuel, I think that's probably quite an attractive feature right now. So anyway, there you go, and we're back into the city area now, and this is, to be honest, where the car performs well at its best, really, because it doesn't need to be going very quickly to keep up with traffic. And it's very easy to drive, it's very easy to see out of, it's very comfortable, and of course parking and stuff is a doddle as well. So there you go, there's my review of the Toyota Aygo Cross. I think it's fantastic. I think if you can stretch from the 15 up to the 20 or so that you need to get a car in this spec, I would do that, just because A, it's funkier and more fun, and if you can then save $1,000 to get yourself the manual, I would do that as well, because it's just more entertaining to drive it like this. But overall, a thumbs up. I think that this is actually a more viable, in fact more usable, and in some ways more appealing version of what is already a great car, the little Aygo. So there you go, let me know what you think of the Aygo Cross in the comments below. See you in the next video.
A big shout out and thanks to Jay Williams over at Air Technic, who are top tier sponsors of Brown Car Guy. Check them out at Air Technic Co UK for exhausts, brakes, suspension and body kits. Plus our other major sponsor, Nayagen Solutions. Much appreciation also to tier 4 sponsors, Muhammad Ali, Junaid, Tom Conway, Gordon and Reza Adil. And of course all these other guys who supporting on Patreon. Brown Car Guy is eternally grateful. Hey, think about joining them over at patreon.com Brown Car Guy. If you can't, don't worry. Just make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel and website. Plus follow on social media by searching for Brown Car Guy.